Please interact with this post. Pay attention, please. This is from Bison's Instagram story. There is a strike that is planned for the 11th of December, this coming Monday. People are being asked not to go to school, not to go to work, call in sick, do not do business as usual. It is Saturday. We have today and Sunday, tomorrow, to get this information out to as many people as possible around the world. Please interact with this post, repost it, tell people about it, text people, screenshot it, whatever. Tag other creators. Let's get this moving. Let's tell as many people as we can that this is something we are being asked to do on the 11th of December, and it is the least we can do.
Did y'all know that all it takes for a strike to be effective is to meet the threshold of 3.5% of the population? Because I didn't until today. Let's talk about it. If you head over to generalstrikeus.com, you will find all of the info that I'll talk about in this video and more. But I just wanted to introduce you guys to the subject and to this website, just in case you haven't heard about it before. You can also find a direct link to this website under the action section of my link tree. The General Strike is a decentralized network of people. This means that we don't have a traditional leader or hierarchical structure. Instead, we have a ever-shifting network of organizers all working towards the General Strike in their own way. You can sign up as somebody who's committed to Strike Day on their website by filling out a strike card. All that you really add is your name, your email, and your phone number for this. As of right now, a little over 27,000 people have committed to this strike, which means that we only need 10 million more people to sign up. And although 10 million might sound like a huge number to us, remember that this is only 3.5% of the entire US population, which really isn't that much when you really put your mind to it. How many times can Noor say really challenge? LOL. Research has shown that strikes engaging in a threshold of 3.5% of the population have never failed to bring about change. 3.5 of the US population is 11 million people. When we have 11 million strike cards signed, we strike. So sign your card today. We the people have far more power than we have been conditioned to believe. This is not an unattainable goal and is something that we historically have been able to do as a community. Again, this is not an unattainable goal and it can bring about positive change. So be a part of the change today. Again, the website is generalstrikeus.com, which you can find easily in my link tree. All you have to do is scroll down to the action section and you'll find the strike, sign up for the general strike, and it'll take you directly to the website and you can fill out your own card. Tag a few friends in the comments to encourage them to sign their own card today. And remember that your voice and your action is incredibly important. There's no such thing as something too small. From the river to the sea, see you in the next one.
Almost 22,000 people in Gaza were killed since the beginning of this aggression. Almost 10,000 of them are children, and some other children were injured, not only killed. So as for the injured children, 1,000 children lost their limbs. 1,000 children had their limbs amputated. 1,000 children are now waiting for a totally unknown future, in a totally unknown future and besieged and occupied land, without any guarantees of artificial limbs, without any guarantees of any medicine, without anything. They just lost.
Assalamu alaikum. Live from Gaza. It's December the 9th, 2023. Today, we announce the start of a global, viral, social media campaign. Please record a 10-second video, selfie in vertical mode of yourself saying, "My name is," first name, "I am from," name of your country, and "I stand with Palestine." Kindly send this clip to the email IStandWithPalestine@GazaNewsLive.com. Please make sure as well that the hashtag IStandWithPalestine goes viral as well. Inshallah, together we are winning this. Together we will set the whole world free. Alaikum. It's December the 9th, 2023. Late in the afternoon today in Nasser Hospital. Alhamdulillah, we have been able to continue to support the people here in Khan Yunis, the displaced families. Today, thousands were fed. Many got new clothes. Hundreds got medication and aid delivered to them. And now the volunteers will distribute cash to those most in need. Thank you for your support. Keep up the great work. We are winning together.
هو الإيمان يرسم لي حياتي به يسمو فتشرق أمنياتي أنا كالغيث تعشقني دروبي صفات الغيث تشبهها صفاتي وبانت في سماواتي جمال ونبل غاياتي إذا قدمت معروفا أورقت ذاتي بتاريخ الحضارات كما كانوا أنا آتي بآثاري وما صنعني وجمال هو الإيمان يرسل.
So, we just got the news that my aunt was killed with her 2 children, their wives, their children. Her daughter, my cousin Dr. Nahid Al-Harazin, she's the best C-section surgeon in Gaza. She helped me through my C-section with Sarah and Bassam. And they actually were attacked 2 days ago in Ash-Shuja'iyya, and the reason why we knew only today, because only today the Israeli tanks withdrew from Ash-Shuja'iyya and people managed to go there and to check on the homes and the people, and we found out after 2 days they are still under the rubble.
Yes, and I see the worldwide protests, and I see how people are trying their best to help Palestine. Whenever I post that I feel alone or Palestine feels lonely, I'm not talking to people, I'm talking to decision makers, to people who can actually stop this, to people who can actually take action, but they're just watching silently.
أتظن أنك بعدما أحببتني ورقصت كالشيطان فوق رفاتي
هسه بنصير البوابة مسكرينها، يعني بدل ما ندخل البوابة يعني دقيقة أو كيلو بنلف 17 كيلو تمنا ندخل على النبي صالح وبيت ريمة ودير غسان. يعني بكت الطريق تقعد معنا من رام الله للنبي صالح 25 دقيقة 30 دقيقة، اليوم ساعة و10 دقائق. يعني أجا مصروف على المواطنين وعلى الشوفرية. احنا شوف يعني عمرنا ما جينا هالطرق يعني. هالكيف بتشوف كلها وعر وكلها ترابيه وكلها، شوف هالطريق اللي بدنا نجي، هذول التراكترات بيمشي طرق زراعيه يعني.
لقيت ايش اليهود جرفوا مخالفاتهم اجت بتجرف بطولنا. جينا احنا استسلمنا، اخذوا منا جوالاتنا وكل شيء وخيارنا وشلحونا وعينا. بعدين احنا رجعنا الاسلام، بعدين اخذونا زي هيك. طلع كيف هذا كله من المرابط البلاستيك. المرابط البلاستيك حطوا لنا فيهم هيك زي هيك، وبنقصر راسك هيك وبيطلعوا ماشي معك، تعرفش انت لا وين وما وين.
مكلبشين الدقه شو؟
كانوا مكلبشين، بس انا شويه حتى اليهودي دعس على ايدي هذه في البوت، هي مفروضه يمكن مكسوره، برضه بيقاروا نفس الشيء. طلع كيف.
يلا الحمد لله على السلامه.
الله يسلمك حبيبي.
سلام عليكم، سلام عليكم بما صبرتم ورابطتم وثبتتم في وجه الطغيان. سلام على أرواح شهدائنا وأطفالنا الأبرياء وأهلنا المظلومين. سلام على أرواحكم التي ستحلق يوما في سماء قدسنا وأقصانا المحرر المطهر من دنس قاتليكم. سلام على دمائكم التي ستلعن كل قاتل مجرم وكل متخاذل وجبان ومدع للإنسانية. سلام عليك يا شعبنا العظيم، وأنت تفضح العالم المنافق بقوانينه العرجاء ومنظماته العوراء ومعاييره المزدوجة. وما النصر إلا من عند الله العزيز الحكيم.
It is December 9th. I have updates for today. If I miss anything, please comment it. We have an update from the director of the European Hospital in Gaza. The situation in the hospital is extremely catastrophic. About 900 injured inpatients in the hospital are lying on the ground. 2 paramedics were injured in IOF bombings. There are wounded in the streets, unable to reach the hospital. We have an update from the Palestinian Ministry of Health in Gaza concerning the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital and Nasser Medical Complex. 71 martyrs and 160 injuries in the past 24 hours arrived at the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital due to the ongoing Zionist bombing on the central government in the Gaza Strip. 62 martyrs and 99 injured arrived at the Nasser Medical Complex in the southern Gaza Strip during the past 24 hours. In Khan Yunis, there has been non-stop aerial bombardment and artillery shelling. IOF vehicles kept pushing to the center, getting closer and closer to the vicinity of Nasser Hospital. The IOF targeted a home in Khan Yunis where the entire family was martyred. That is 13 people. Over 50,000 people are taking refuge in Al-Mawasi in Rafah. Here is a description of the conditions there. People are hungry and thirsty. They lack all the basic supplies that could help them survive. The estimated number of people taking refuge is more than 50,000. Many tents have been set up and the area is running out of space. Those who own land here ended up dividing it into small portions and are either renting or selling it to evacuees. The situation is very desperate. It's very cold and windy, and there is a possibility of floods if it started to rain. The tents are very small and inappropriate for people to live in. Many of the people there haven't eaten for 2 days now. If they don't die from the bombardment, then they will die of starvation. Al Jazeera Arabic has an update from Deir al-Bala in central Gaza, which was targeted by Israeli forces earlier today. Israeli jets have attacked a number of buildings here and killed a lot of residents, including women and children. This area was described as a safe area by IOF. That's why there are so many displaced people here. Survivors are trying to rescue those injured. The state of destruction is massive and it's very difficult to rescue those injured. There is no equipment and everyone, including the rescue officials, is using their hands to remove the rubble. And here's one of the young boys that was saved from the rubble in Deir al-Bala. IOF is once again telling people to evacuate from one place to another, even though there is no safe place. The IOF has called on civilians in the north of the Strip to evacuate to known shelters west of Gaza City. It also said that fighting in the south continues, but that civilians can pass through a road west of Khan Yunis. There is also going to be a 4-hour tactical suspension of military activities in certain areas of the southern city of Rafah. Instructions from the IOF have generated chaos and fear among civilians who have repeatedly said that no place is safe as Israeli airstrikes continue to pound the entire Strip from north to south. Areas and routes that have been indicated as safe in previous weeks have then been struck multiple times. 2 25-year-olds and a teenager were killed in the occupied West Bank. We don't have any info on the teenager yet, but I can tell you about the 2 25-year-olds. Saudi Yusuf Ahmed, a 25-year-old Palestinian, was shot by IOF earlier today and has died. Ahmed was wounded during a raid in Dura, south of Hebron, with Wafa citing his father, saying that Israeli forces fired live bullets into his home before detaining Ahmed and his brother Suhab. Rami Jamal al-Jundab, a 25-year-old Palestinian who was injured following a raid by Israeli forces at Farah refugee camp, has died. IOF raids continue across the occupied West Bank, and they are increasing in their intensity. There is a possibility that those released from the Israeli prisons during the exchange will be illegally detained again through these raids. Right now, they continue to illegally detain more and more new Palestinians. In the early hours of this morning, these were the raids that were reported. Ramallah, where 2 people were illegally detained. Hebron and Kalkalia, Nablus, where armed vehicles were seen driving through the city. Bethlehem, where a video showed soldiers on foot smashing cars on their way. Continue sharing information. Let's keep this communication going. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. In the last few hours, Israeli occupation have committed over 20 massacres and have exterminated families from several areas. You want to know what else they did? Occupation snipers killed and wounded a number of pregnant women when they arrived at Kamal Adwan Maternity Hospital in the northern Gaza Strip. Occupation snipers killed 2 health personnel at Kamal Adwan Hospital during the past hours. We could have had a fucking ceasefire. These deaths could have been avoided. Every moment of this becomes more horrific than the last. And all we fucking needed was a ceasefire. All we need is a fucking ceasefire. And like we say, that is the first step to stop the immediate violence, the immediate deaths. And the US, of course, has to step in front of that and fucking refuse it. And Israel keeps going on with their fucking killing spree, where they use American weapons. And what's so fucked up about this is that this is nothing new. This didn't start on October 7th. This has been happening for 75 fucking years. Pregnant women have been attacked by the IOF for years and years and years. But now you're all seeing it. You see exactly what they're capable and what they have been capable of and what they have been doing. You are no longer fooled by mainstream media, because we're here and we're giving you this information right in front of you, feeding it right to you. And I'm so thankful for how many of you are fighting against this. Today has been so incredibly violent. It's heartbreaking.
A survivor of the rave on October the 7th spoke to the Israeli radio today, and she said, I'm quoting her words, I'm going to leave the link for the interview also for you to listen to it. It's got English subtitles. See, she said the terrorists did not harm us. They even gave us the opportunity to drink and calmed us down while we panicked. And when the police came, they started shooting everywhere. 4 people were dead outside. I think the police killed them. Then they arrested the gunmen and opened heavy fire on the hostages and gunmen, killing them all. This is incredible when compared with the Zionist propaganda regarding October the 7th, but surely unsurprising at this point to anyone who's been paying attention. And also, if you haven't seen that, there was a footage leaked from the IDF, that it was actually the helicopters, the IDF helicopters, who fired on the people coming out from the music festival, and it wasn't Hamas. I'm going to leave the link down here. Click it and then it will take you to the interview. Thank you.
A beautiful soul that was older than the state of Israel and was there for the first Nakba was murdered yesterday by an Israeli sniper. They saw an older woman, and they still chose to kill her. She wasn't killed by a bomb. She wasn't killed in a missile. She wasn't killed because of a building collapsing. She was specifically targeted, even though she was an older woman. The United States of Israel's terrorist organization does not care who Hamas is. They are only trying to kill Palestinians.
The United States have shown exactly what extents they'll go to make sure that this genocide continues and Israel annihilates all Palestinians. It's the 9th of December, and this is a 24-hour update of what's happening in Palestine. Over 17,487 Palestinians have been massacred in Gaza since the 7th of October. Yesterday, the United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting for a resolution to pass calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. This happened after a rare move by the UN chief of invoking Article 99. In this emergency vote, the UK abstained and the US vetoed it, meaning single-handedly they stopped this resolution from passing. And the US ambassador to the UN who vetoed this gave an explanation saying this would only plant seeds for the next war because Hamas have no desire to see a durable peace, to see a two-state solution. Of course, many of us know that's bullshit, but that is the reasoning they gave for vetoing this resolution, which would have called and pressured Israel for an immediate ceasefire. With the US's backing, Israel will not stop this genocide, not anytime soon. They have the funding, the support, the weaponry. Why would they stop until they get what they want, which is an ethnic cleansing, an annihilation of Palestine, and to have total control of the land? As well as this, a Palestinian teenager was killed in southern occupied West Bank as raids continue every single day. And as the Israeli bombardment continues, dozens have been reported dead in Khan Yunis and Rafah overnight, including a family of 13 people. And Dar al-Bala in central Gaza, that was described as safe by the Israeli army, has been targeted, again, killing dozens, including women and children.
Kenya follows Malawi in sending workers to Israel when there's a genocide going on. These African leaders are literally the worst, okay? Because they're paid off by Israel and America. These colonizers handpick which African leaders to put in power so they can get away with whatever they want. Imagine taking these workers in the midst of a freaking genocide. So Kenya is sending 1,500 farm workers to Israel. And basically, there's a 3-year contract for them to work in Israel, and they get to be paid as well. But I will not trust this because Israel is not to be trusted. But anyways, these African countries are, I swear to God, and Africa is in dire need of so much help. These workers could be working and getting paid in their country and helping their own country than a fake state like Israel that is responsible for so many genocides within the African continent itself. Crazy. Israel's ambassador in Kenya also says that Israel was planning to recruit farm workers from Uganda as well, while recruitment in Tanzania had already started. So all of East Africa, they want to just grab all those people and take them. Oh my God. Anyways, he also mentions we are looking to East Africa to fill the labor gap as we have had student internships programs in place for many years with these countries, and it has been a good experience. Right. There is no protection for these African workers because literally it says at least 32 Thai farm workers were killed and several others were taken hostage when this whole attack from October 7th started. I will not trust this last part because Israel is known to lie. But imagine, this is the middle of a genocide. Look at what happened to these Thai farmers. Also, Tanzanian a student, Clement Felix, who was in Israel as an agricultural intern, was also killed in the attack, while other Tanzanian student is Joshua is still missing. Why would you send your people in a place where there's a conflict? There's a conflict and their safety is not determined. Anyways, this is the news for today.
3 signs Israel is losing, part 25. A survey in Israel shows that 74% of people believe there was involvement from within in the October 7 attacks. This number is only going up as people are finding out there was a massive short selling right before. Even Netanyahu can't hold a straight face anymore, as he's trying to gaslight us into thinking that investigating Israel for war crimes is anti-Semitic. What's next? If Santa doesn't send you the new iPhone for Christmas, he's anti-Semitic? Talking about gifts, this guy's ancestors are probably disowning him as they're rolling in their graves right now. Before you get angry or upset, this is not a coincidence. The US needs to undermine the UN efforts so they can remain the worldwide leader and keep chaos in the Middle East. Don't take my word for it. This was said by another US ambassador for the UN during the East Timor genocide. Also said by Sleepy Joe's nemesis, Mr. Putin, who's been welcomed in Saudi like a king. But Sleepy Joe, don't be jealous. There was a big welcome for you last night in LA. Biden, you're a liar. We demand the ceasefire. But anyway, a welcome crowd is always a source of hype. I'm sure you needed that, given that your emergency spending bill for Ukraine and Israel has been blocked by the Republicans. Looks like Netanyahu dragged you in his downfall. Just start hanging photos of Trump. You would be doing one good thing for Americans by saving them the extra work.
What was life like before October 7th compared to now? Can you kind of speak to that a little bit?
So for the last 16 years, Gaza Strip has been under a siege. We only had electricity 8 hours a day. We were only allowed certain amounts of water, like in terms of quantity, in terms of volume. Spy drones never stopped circulating around us. Assassinations on a weekly basis didn't stop. Lack of jobs. There's like a 75% unemployment rate. And the vast majority of the population is a youthful population. However, education and literacy rates are amongst the highest in the world. The women especially are extremely empowered. Like every time the top 10 of those who graduate, like 7 or 8 are women or girls.
2 steps. 1, 2. Look in the mirror. The horror, the horror. The butt of your M16 on my cheekbone, the yellow patch it left, the bullet-shaped scar expanding like a swastika, snaking across my face, the heartache flowing out of my eyes, dripping out of my mouth, out of my nostrils, piercing my ears, flooding the place like it did to you 70 years ago or so. I am just you. I am your past, haunting your present and your future. I strive like you did. I fight like you did, I resist like you resisted, and for a moment, I take your tenacity as a model. Were you not holding the barrel of the gun between my 2 bleeding eyes? 1, 2. The very same gun, the very same bullet that had killed your mom and killed your dad is being used against me by you. Mark this bullet and mark it in your gun. If you sniff it, it has your and my blood. It has my present and your past. It has my present, it has your future. That's why we are twins. Same life track, same weapon, same suffering. Same facial expressions drawn on the face of the killer. Same everything, except that in your case, the victim has evolved backward into a victimizer. I tell you, I am you, except that I am not the you of now. I do not hate you. I want to help you stop hating and killing me. I tell you, the noise of your machine gun renders you deaf. The smell of the powder beats that of my blood. The sparks disfigure my facial expressions. Would you stop shooting for a moment, would you? All you have to do is close your eyes. Seeing these days blinds our hearts. So close your eyes tightly that you can see in your mind's eye. Then look into the mirror. 1, 2. I am you. I am your past, and killing me, you kill you.
Since October 7th, Israel have dropped the equivalent of 2 nuclear bombs on the Gaza Strip. According to military analysts interviewed by the Financial Times in this article, in just 7 weeks, the destruction that we've seen in northern Gaza almost rivals the years-long carpet bombing of German cities during World War II.
What we are witnessing now in Gaza is one of the most intense aerial bombardment campaigns in history with conventional munitions. Hamburg, where Allied bombing killed 45,000 German civilians. Darmstadt, where they killed 12,500. Dresden, where the Allied bombers killed 25,000 civilians. Well, now Gaza is likely to be remembered as a place name and that's going to be on this infamous list.
Some of the munitions Israel are using are pinpoint accurate, which should limit collateral damage. But over 17,000 Palestinians have been killed, most of them women and children. Often referred to as an open-air prison, Gaza is a haunting city of death and ruins, where some 60% of buildings in northern Gaza are severely damaged. Some of the bombs used by Israel, identified to the Financial Times by explosive experts, are earth-shaking 2,000-pound bombs whose use has been widespread in this conflict. But just how powerful are these bombs? Buildings pancake, their support disintegrates so they collapse in on themselves, and then there are area effects, including the secondary fragmentation of cement, metal, people's cell phones, and everything else that flies out from the explosion at supersonic speeds. This is what Mark Galasco, military advisor and former Pentagon intelligence analyst, told the Financial Times. October 7th has also cast renewed scrutiny on where Israel gets its ammunitions from, a scrutiny that has sparked demonstrations outside arms factories like defense giant BAE Systems, who apparently produce parts for Israeli fighter jets. The UK, for example, has licensed arms worth over £442 million to Israel between May 2015 and August 2022. They're now facing a legal challenge in the High Court because of it. Just this week, Amnesty International called for a war crimes investigation into Israel's use of 1,000 and 2,000-pound US-manufactured bombs that were used in 2 Israeli airstrikes in Gaza in October, killing 43 civilians, including 19 children. As Israeli forces now push deeper into southern Gaza, the bombings have continued, but to what end?
We don't have many strategic bombing campaigns where the population who could face the bombing is as small as 2 million. The high level of intensity of civilian bombing is when the attacker who's using the air power kills about 1% of the target population. That is what has happened in Gaza as we speak.
I will take all of your questions. It is not something I can do responding to a report from the podium.
The response from the Biden administration on whether it was a war crime that premature babies had been left to die of hunger and exposure and their bodies left to rot was that it was Hamas's fault. Let me repeat this to you again. The response from the good guys, from the defenders of freedom, was that the fault for the death of premature babies under the care of the Israeli army was Hamas's fault because they haven't surrendered. Pardon my display of emotion, but I screamed. I screamed. And I screamed. And I didn't even realize that I was screaming when I was listening to that video. I just realized it because my dog was scared and my throat was raw. I hope that every single fucking person in that sclerotic institution gets taken to trial for abetting and disguising and enabling war crimes. Every single one of them. And in the meantime, I'm going to do my petty best to do whatever I can to make sure that no one forgets this. And you can do too. You can remind them every single day through your posts, through your emails, through the conversations that you have with people, that the memories of those babies and the memories of these crimes do not die.
The United States could have stopped the suffering and death of Palestinians, but instead chose to vote against a ceasefire. Suffering could have ended, so many lives could have been saved, but instead we're losing lives by the second. But 61% of Americans are calling for a ceasefire, so what's stopping you? As a Palestinian Muslim American, I want my voice to be heard. And I can speak for Muslim Americans when I say that we will abandon Biden in the upcoming election. We are quite literally being forced to fund the genocide of our own people due to our tax dollars. We are asking for a ceasefire. The people are asking for a ceasefire. What is holding you back? You have blood on your hands.
Oh, the United Nations recognized Israel as a country in 1948. Sure, and let's also recognize that if anybody at the United Nations disagreed with that or proposed something differently, they were unalived. The only reason the United Nations recognized Israel as a state in 1948 is because the UN peace mediator who proposed a different solution was unalived by a Zionist party the day after his proposal was submitted. Count Bernadotte was the Swedish diplomat who helped release over 31,000 prisoners and later appointed as the UN Palestine peace mediator. Bernadotte crafted the Bernadotte Plan, which looked completely different from the UN Partition Plan of 1948. The Bernadotte Plan even advocated that Palestinians expelled from their lands and properties during the Nakba should be allowed to return and reclaim the land. It would be an offense against the principles of elemental justice if these innocent victims of the conflict were denied the right to return to their homes while Jewish immigrants flown into Palestine. So what happened and how was he unalived? He submitted the Bernadotte Plan to the UN General Assembly on September 16th, 1948, sparking fears among Zionist militants and paramilitary groups that the plan would actually be approved and implemented. September 17th, only a day after the proposal's submission, 4 Zionist Lehi ambushed Bernadotte's motorcad in Jerusalem's neighborhood, firing 6 into the UN mediator. So who is this Lehi group? This paper was published by the US Department of Justice in 1972. Both assassinations were intended as acts of tactile vengeance to revive a failing organization and to change history. Bernadotte was seen as a threat to Israel because of his work for a solution, probably favoring the Arabs and its symbol of alien oppression. This is the same guy who negotiated the release of 31,000 prisoners from Germany. He did not favor the Palestinians because they were Palestinians. He favored them because they were being oppressed. I learned about this after reading this government document that was released in 1992 following the JFK Act. There was speculation at the time whether Zionists played a role in his assassination, and in the document they talked about Lord Moyne and Count Bernadotte. So next time somebody tells you, oh, the United Nations recognized Israel as a state in 1948, why don't you go ahead and show them this?
The West is so deeply entrenched in white supremacy that every Western country is currently debating whether or not a Palestinian slogan should be categorized as genocidal. Debating whether Palestinian chants call for the genocide of Jewish people, which they most certainly do not, like from the river to the sea. These are high-level conversations, like lawmakers within these systems of government, discussing the hypothetical association to genocide, while an actual genocide is happening to Palestinians. The estimate is that around like 20,000 Palestinians killed right now, including the ones who are missing. More than 1.5 million people displaced. There's no food, there's no water, no electricity. And you are discussing the hypothetical connotation of a Palestinian slogan chanted at Palestinian protests. Oh my God, this country. Oh my God. If that does not scream white supremacy, my God. The entire world halted on October 7th to stand for Israel. All of a sudden, every Westerner, every company, every organization, every institution somehow became an expert on the Palestinian occupation. And now we're at 20,000 Palestinians slaughtered, and we're gonna go ahead and discuss Palestinian chants. Israelis are actually calling for the genocide of Palestinians, literally saying, wipe out Gaza, kill these animals, both the settlers and the government. And instead, lawmakers discuss whether or not From the River to the Sea should be allowed to be chanted in U.S. college campuses. La ilaha illallah.
Bisan made a post talking about how her home was bombed and destroyed and how she doesn't know where her pet kittens are. And I am just absolutely shattered about it, and I had some thoughts that I shared on my Instagram story that I wanted to share here. The other day, I stopped myself from sharing the story of a little girl in Gaza crying about the toys she left behind in the rubble of her home. I stopped myself because I thought, no, this suffering is too small in the grand scheme of this genocide. You should only share what matters while you have this precious collective Western attention on Palestine. But from the bottom of my heart, fuck that. That child losing her toys is her world collapsing, and it should bother you too. Bisan losing her kittens is fucking heart-wrenching, and I can't stop crying about it. We shouldn't have to die for your sympathy. Our ordinary tragedies are tragic too. These are real people with real lives. Losing your home is devastating. Losing your pets is devastating. Losing your toys is devastating. All of their devastations are happening within the fabric of a genocide. They are tragedies within tragedies, and we owe it to them to bear witness to all of it, not just the bodies being blown apart. My heart breaks a million times a day for Palestine. I mean, this heartbreak has changed my soul. But I can't imagine being there and watching 20,000 of my people being murdered and not even having my bed to return home to, not even having my pets waiting at the door for me. I want so many things for Palestine, but right now I just really wish Bisan knew where her freaking cats were. Like, it's so sad. None of these tragedies are too small to talk about. How dare we ever think that? All of this matters, and it matters that we keep talking about it. Because it's not just a genocide, and I can't believe I'm saying that. It's a million tragedies inside of a genocide. And an understanding that we humanize these people, hopefully enough to do something about it.
Guys, does this look familiar? Let me show you, because most of you probably do know what this looks like. Yeah. Familiar, right? Really, really familiar. This is what Zara literally has in their defense. The campaign. Zara said the central focus of its campaign, titled The Jacket, is an exercise in concentrated design that aims to demonstrate the versatility of the garment. The versatility. Are they marketing this to Palestinians who are going through genocide so that they can wear this jacket as they wrap their dead children? Because criticism for employing unsettling imagery, including what appears to be bodies wrapped in a white body bag, reminiscent of traditional Muslim burial attire, seems to be what they are going for. The campaign also features rocks, rubble, and a cardboard cutout resembling the map of Palestine. Before you tell me that, okay, like maybe it's a huge coincidence, listen to this. Vanessa Perlman, the head designer of Zara, in 2021 said the following about Palestine. Maybe if your people were educated, then they wouldn't blow up the hospitals and schools that Israel helped to pay for in Gaza. The people in my industry know the truth about Israel and Palestine, and I will never stop defending Israel, and people like you come and go in the end. Israelis don't teach children to hate. That's actually really interesting, because so many Jewish creators have spoken specifically on how Israel, the Zionist movement, specifically does indoctrinate hate into children. Israelis don't teach children to hate nor throw stones at soldiers. Throw stones at soldiers. Throwing stones is the biggest reason why children are taken in the middle of the night, their homes are raided, they're kidnapped from their parents, they're taken as hostages by IOF. They are not allowed to have an adult with them from their family. Save the Children has documented sexual, verbal, and physical abuses, including isolation, for days on end. Palestinian children who, at any given time, generally, there's 500 to 700 of them in Israeli jails. They are tried in military court after a detention that can last years for throwing rocks at soldiers with weapons. Unsurprisingly, this is the thing. When you support Palestine, it's not just about Palestine. It's about oppressed groups anywhere. Zara has been accused of ongoing using Uyghur forced labor. Canada's corporate ethics czar says it has launched a fact-finding investigation into allegations that Zara Canada Incorporated is working with companies that use forced labor in China. This investigation into the apparel company stems from allegations made by 28 society organizations. Tag them, shame them, cancel them. Genocide? Ethnic cleansing? It's not a good look.
It means that every civilian building is fair game. You flatten it because it had an association with Hamas.
We are targeting Hamas infrastructure on the basis of precise intelligence.
Hamas infrastructure, eh? Okay, but what about those houses in Beit Hanun? They didn't look like military infrastructure to me.
Every Hamas infrastructure is fair game.
Oh, and Al-Karameh?
Hamas infrastructure.
What about Beit Lahia?
Fair game.
What about those fields? They were building what? An airport underneath?
Hamas infrastructure.
Okay, my years as an architecture student are quite far behind, but 100,000 buildings destroyed, that's a lot of building for military infrastructure. We're talking more infrastructure for Hamas in the tiny Gaza Strip than the entire US military infrastructure around the world. Are you sure? I don't work with A.L. Wiesman and forensic architecture, so do check out their work, it's amazing. But according to my calculation, that's a lot. If Hamas really managed to build infrastructure and tunnels under all of the IOF targets, 40% of the houses, 339 schools, 167 mosques and churches, and 26 hospitals, all of that without formal training in construction or engineering, without equipment or material, without funding, in a blockade, and without being caught by the top one intelligence agency in the world, well, Donald Trump should have hired Hamas to build his wall, because they would have done the job in 1 week. If what Israel claims is true, those guys have got to be the most efficient builders in the history of humanity.
Over 17,700 people have been confirmed dead in the Gaza Strip. Over 48,000 of them have been wounded. And just this morning in the West Bank, the IOF killed a teenage Palestinian boy. That teenage boy could have been saved if we had that ceasefire yesterday that the US voted no on. All of the people that have died since this morning could have been saved if we had that ceasefire yesterday. I know that none of us are surprised that the US voted no to the ceasefire, but we should still be enraged. We cannot be desensitized to the US saying no to the ceasefire. We can't be desensitized to what's happening to the Palestinians. We have to stay active. We have to feel. We have to feel. We have to be mad. We have to feel passionate for them. We have to let this rage fuel us. The Palestinians deserve that much and so much more. 80% of Palestinians have been internally displaced since October 7th. Please don't forget to comment on pro-Palestinian posts. They're literally taking away our likes so these videos don't get engagement. Commenting is one of the best ways to boost a video, so please do that. Please spread the message.
So this happened in Berlin.
Free Palestine of German guilt.
What are they guilty of? Why do they feel guilty?
And then he goes on to say that Free Palestine from German guilt means that Germans should not feel guilty about the Holocaust anymore. This is what happens when you come on here and don't know what the fuck you're talking about, but your pro-Zionist, pro-Israel videos are taking off, and a lot of people are coming in your comment section giving you compliments, and you try to hide your Islamophobia and racism and xenophobia behind your one marginalized identity. Fear not, I'm here to educate you so you can shut your mouth. I am actually from Berlin, where that protest was taking place. I was born and raised in Germany, so let me tell you something about Germany. In Germany, almost your entire academic career, like at least from 7th grade until you graduate high school, almost all history that you learn is about the Holocaust in detail. And every year, almost every school in Germany does like project weeks where we remember the Holocaust, we remember what state propaganda does, what people looking away does, what, you know, not speaking up does, what dehumanizing an entire ethnic group does. All these things we're told and we're taught so we can identify these things and so it can never happen again. Never again, right? Almost every person that went to school in Germany, almost everyone has been to a concentration camp or a death camp to visit and to learn. I personally went to Dachau, and I have a bunch of friends who were able to go to Auschwitz. When we went to Dachau, we walked all the way from the train station to the camp on foot, the 45 minutes, because that was the same trail that the Jewish prisoners that were taken there had to walk in the cold, sick, all of that. And on the way to the camp, there were houses everywhere. So I asked the guide that took us there, like, how come there are so many like residential houses here? That is so weird. And he said, yeah, the people knew, they just decided to look away. They just closed their curtains. We learned all that so we can identify genocide, so we can speak up about it, so we can make sure that it never happens again to anyone. And now millennials and Gen Z, who are the most outspoken about this, have the internet. And lying to us, it's become so much harder. While Germany supports Israel in whatever they're doing, if they committed 100 war crimes and told you we're doing it, as they are doing right now, Germany will make 100 million excuses because of that historical guilt and their historical responsibility, as they say. Because you cannot educate us for years on genocide and on propaganda and how that works and dehumanization, and then have us watch these things coming from the mouths of the Israeli government and also of the IDF and radical Zionists, and then be like, well, I guess those people deserve it. I don't know.
Also, most of these protests are either led by or in collaboration with Jewish organizations. So if you want to tell them that they're anti-Semitic too and that Germany will deal with them, I don't know, go ahead.
So yes, free Palestine from German guilt and free Palestinians from Germans who are trying to frame them to take over the guilt.
Because the empire runs on individualism and ego, they will definitely try to locate a single person to hold responsible for everything that is happening in Palestine. They'll isolate and pick one person as the provocateur, the planner, the mastermind, and they will invest so much resources in military and media to isolate and focus on this one individual as the target. They'll make it their primary campaign to obliterate this individual. They will intentionally mythologize and demonize them to try to focus attention onto this one individual. The empire will flash its flag everywhere to manufacture colonial patriotism, to construct a false and fictional sense of unity, and force people into complicit agreement or acceptance of this individual as the target. This is an age-old imperial tactic to quell uprisings, to concoct closure, to fabricate a reason for the public to return to business as usual, to shift culpability from itself and redirect it outward. But the imperial core did not count on the fact that the masses around the world have coalesced together. Everyone is finally witnessing what is behind the curtain, and those billions of us will never turn away again. Oppression is never about a single person. Liberation is always about everyone.
This is your reminder that multi-billionaire owner of luxury jewelers Cartier says the thought of the poor rising up and overthrowing the rich keeps him awake at night. This truly warms my heart. I don't know about you, but to know that we're the stuff of their nightmares truly brings me joy. They knew and they know what's coming. We could only last so long living the way that we are. The people are mad, the people are awake, and the people are more united than ever. The way that we've been living, this system, this rat race we're in, we're done. We're done. And they know. So why not make their nightmares a reality? If you have not yet signed the general strike card, the link is in my bio. I believe we're at 27,000 people. We need 11 million. We can do it. It's spreading like wildfire. It's time we make a list of demands and we change shit. It's time for change. So I don't know about you, but I love to make their nightmares a reality.
Americans, they want to kill Palestinians and then they want us to stay silent about it. Keep shopping. Keep shopping.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. I think we've already established is about committing genocide to the Jews. Actually, no. You established that. I disagreed. And if you call that genocidal, then what is Charbu Darbu? What about that song? It's an amazing song. It calls for Israeli pride. Did you actually read the lyrics or look them up? Because I did, and there's a lot more than pride happening there. One of the lines in the song is literally saying that the people of Gaza should wait for bombs to rain on them like debt. That is Israeli pride to you? Yes, because we're defending Israel. Okay, what about the lines where they're calling for the deaths of Bella Hadid, Dua Lipa, and Mia Khalifa? They shouldn't be terrorist sympathizers. Just so I understand you correctly, you're saying that a song that's calling for the death of celebrities and dropping bombs and murder and, death is about freedom, and a chant saying from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, is about genociding the Jews. Okay, because that's seems a little backwards. I listened to one side that's saying death and the other one's asking for freedoms, and it seems to be the opposite of what you're saying. You just don't get it, because our side is just about Hamas, while their side is about killing all of the Jews. Except your side literally names people who are not Hamas. And it also talks about, the people of Gaza as a whole. Wow, you really hate Jewish people. There's no way you can be this naive.
Yeah, from the river to the sea, Palestine. How dare you? Excuse me? How dare you use that horrific chant? Don't you know it calls for Jewish genocide? Where? What do you mean where? It's in the slogan, you anti-Semitic idiot. From the river to the sea is a call to kill all Jewish people. Okay. How? Well, if you free Palestine from the river to the sea, then Israel no longer exists, which means all people either get displaced or they're all killed in a huge Jewish genocide. You know that's the same rhetoric they used to justify not ending slavery, right? No, they didn't. Yeah, they did. One of the big fears for everyone, even Abraham Lincoln, was where all the black folk were going to go and what they were going to do, especially to white people, once they were free. Only for black folk to move across the country, form little pockets of successful communities that were eventually destroyed because white folk didn't like them there. That's just one example. Nope, the same thing happened with BLM. When black folks said that their lives mattered and needed to be protected, white folk interpreted that as if theirs didn't and they deserve something bad happening to them. So we got the All Lives Matter counter movement. Okay. The same thing happens when y'all bring up giving land back to indigenous people. Y'all are like, oh, well, if we did this to indigenous people, would you leave your house? And it's like, on one hand, yeah, but on the other hand, land back is a movement and it doesn't look like that. And y'all would know that if you actually cared to listen instead of using them as weapons. Oh my God, like, what do you even, I mean, if you want to think really big picture, it's exactly why men respond so poorly to the ideas of feminism. At the end of the day, feminism is good for all of us, but they see any loss in their position of power as a crime against them or an attack, which isn't going to actually happen. My point is, the oppressor will always fear retaliation and revenge in the form of their own actions, because not only is that what they would do in these circumstances, it's what they're doing right now. So when you say, from the river to the sea is anti-Semitic and calls for Jewish genocide, what you're doing is using the language of the oppressor to justify the brutalization and, in this case, genocide of the oppressed. No, I'm not. I mean, I would never. Plus, actual Holocaust survivors keep coming out to say that y'all are in the wrong and this is a genocide. So.
Değerli spor severler, Gazze'de hayatımda...
I don't know who needs to hear this, but resistance is justified when people are occupied. Okay? Think about it, sit on it, understand it. Yup.
Picture a hot dog bun and throw all the stars, the hundreds of stars that there are in the universe into a bag, and put the universe into a bag, and you all of a sudden, they become
Take that, you son of a bitch. Did you just throw a brick at the monster? Yeah, we're being attacked right now. Whoa, violence isn't the answer. Yeah, we have to rise above. When they go low, we go high. Oh no. Oh no, I'm sorry. Oh no. I'm sorry. I might have a band-aid. What else are we supposed to do? The monster is literally destroying the city. We can spread awareness or peacefully protest in a way that doesn't inconvenience anyone. Oh, I'm sorry. Were some of us not aware of the 50-meter monster terrorizing our city? Look, if we resort to violence, we're just as bad as him. Just as bad? We're just as bad? He's destroyed half the buildings in the city and I threw a brick and we're just as bad? And that's valid. Defending yourself? That's like if a 2-year-old kicked me and I vaporized it. Choose love, not hate. I'm not going to be able to choose anything if I am flattened by the monster that is pulverizing humanity. Well, I, for one, won't stand for this. We're better than this. The monster has a right to defend itself. He started it! 2 wrongs don't make a right. Yeah, boo. 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 Absolutely, and we're gonna go back to running in terror and not retaliating with violence. Yeah. You've got to be kidding me.
Don't forget that it's not just about free Palestine, but the Palestine that's freeing us along the way.